Hello first grade, so today we're talking about Egypt, and our learning objectives for this assignment is that we will understand people from different places and times have made art for a variety of reasons. We will be able to create art for purpose of recording history, and we will be able to use materials and tools safely and properly. So today we're going to make this cartouche out of metal tooling, and it's going to be a cartouche necklace that you can wear. And a cartouche is an Egyptian nameplate, and you're going to write your name in hieroglyphics. And the Egyptians always wrote from top to bottom, and they didn't write left to right like we do. And so the way that you're going to start this is you're going to get a cartouche handout. And you can see our cartouche is going to be the same size as our handout because we're going to be using our handout as a template. So the first thing you want to do is write your name up here at the top. And then you're going to draw these hieroglyphics as your name. And you want to leave a little space at the top for the hole punch. So you might even want to put a little circle at the top to remind you that you don't want to draw anything right up at the tippy top because you're going to punch a hole there. And if you have a really long name like Matthew, you're going to want to shorten it because you can see the hieroglyphics take up a lot of space. So for my nameplate, I just did Mrs. J. So M-R-S-J. I didn't do Mrs. Jackson because there's no way I could possibly fit that all on here. If I wanted to fit all that on here, I might do Mrs. here and then Jackson here, but that's still going to be a pretty tight fit. So if your first name is really long and there's no way to shorten it, you could do a middle name. You could do your mom or your dad. You could do mom or dad on there if you'd like. But you're going to pick a name that's not too long, and you're going to draw the hieroglyphics. So I'm going to go ahead and do Nate. I'll do the name Nate because it has 4 letters, and I think I can fit that on here pretty easily. So I'm going to start with an N. So here's the N in the alphabet, and it is a zigzag, a horizontal zigzag line. So you don't want to draw too small since we're going to be doing it in metal tooling. You want it to be kind of big, and you don't want the zigzags real close together because that's hard to do on the metal. And then the next letter in the word name Nate is A, and so it's this falcon. And some of these hieroglyphics are pretty detailed and hard to draw, so I just want you to do the best you can. They don't have to look exactly like what we see on the handout, but I just wanted you to have a handout where you saw what the Egyptian hieroglyphics look like. So if you can't make yours look exactly like that, just do the best you can. The next letter is T, and I try to fill the cartouche and not draw them super tiny. And the last letter is E. All right. So we're getting it the way we want it in pencil here. If you make any mistakes, erase, get it just the way you want it, and then you're going to cut it out very carefully. Okay, so you're going to get your metal tooling. It has silver on one side and gold on the other, so you can decide if you want gold to be showing or the silver to be showing. Since I did gold, I'm going to do this one silver, so I have 2 that are different. So I'm going to put the silver side up, and then you take your cartouche and you fit it on here, and you're going to get a piece of masking tape, and you're going to tape this to the metal tooling. Now we're going to impress this design into the metal. So we're going to make an indentation. We're going to make it pop up on the back actually, so it'll push down into the metal. And the way that we do that is we need to put a magazine under our work because the magazine's kind of like a little pillow for your metal so that you can push down. If you put the metal just flat on the table, when you try to push down on the metal, the table's very rigid and it will not let you push down in the metal very far. But the magazine's like a little pillow, and it'll give you just a little cushion for you to push down into the metal. And you're going to want to use a metal stylus. It has a flat end, but we use the pointy end, and this is not a metal stylus, I'm sorry, this is a wooden stylus. So you're going to want to use a wooden stylus that has a pointy end, and it has a flat end on the other side, and you're going to use this like a pencil, and you're going to trace over your drawing. And you're going to press down into the metal, and you don't you just want to get a nice line, and you can see the line forming as you do this. You don't want to push really hard down this first time around. You just want to get a nice outline. And also what might be a good idea, which I didn't do it, is to put this straight edge of the cartouche, this paper, down along the straight edge of your metal, and then you don't have to trace that bottom part because it's already there. So that would have saved me a step. I wish I would have thought of that. So you're just going to carefully trace around this, just like this wooden stylus is a pencil, pressing down into the metal. So you can always lift it up and check, and you can see I have a nice outline. So now I'm going to do the inner line. So I have the oval there. Now, I didn't mention, but you need to be extra careful along the edges of the metal. The metal, imagine it like a piece of paper. If you were to run your fingers along the edge of a piece of paper, you would get a paper cut. Well, you're going to get a cut if you run your hand across the edge of this metal. So you want to be extra careful when you're working with it so that you don't cut your finger. So now I'm not going to do this circle because I know that's just there to show me that I'm going to put a hole there. So now I'm just going to take my stylus and trace over my drawing. Now, let's say you make a mistake. Let's say your zigzag isn't exactly the way you want it. What you can do is flip your metal over and then use a popsicle stick and press down gently, rub back and forth over the top of your mistake to flatten that out. Now, that's not going to make that go away completely, but it does flatten it out. Then you can flip it back over and trace it again. Now, you can't do this too many times. If you do this 2 or 3 times, you're going to end up getting a hole in your metal, and you don't get a new metal piece. So if you get a hole in your metal because you pressed too hard or you made too many mistakes, it's just going to stay a hole there. Because this metal can tear. If I push too hard with this wooden stylus, I can get a hole or a tear in my metal. So I'm just pressing down firmly to make a mark, but I'm not pressing as hard as I possibly can because I don't want to get a hole. And you want to hold the paper down so it doesn't wiggle on you, because it's going to want to move and wiggle. Lift it up, check it. I'm pretty happy with that. So now you're going to pull off your cartouche drawing, and you can pitch this, recycle this. Okay, and so now I'm going to go back over my drawing and press down just a little bit more. And I'm not pressing super hard. I don't want to make a hole. I don't want to make a tear in my metal, but I do want to make these lines a little bit deeper into the metal so that they stand out a little bit better. Now, if you're doing this on the gold side, you could actually scratch this color off. So if you're doing your cartouche on the gold side, if you press too hard with the wooden stylus, it's going to scratch the gold color right off the metal, and you're going to see the silver underneath the gold. And if that happens, you just have to take a deep breath and try not to let it bother you too much. Also, after you go over it a second time, now you're ready to add some color. Like I added purple to mine. I chose just to use one color. You could use more than one color, but you're going to use permanent marker. And I want you to use juicy permanent markers that work and that color easily on the metal. If they don't color easily on the metal, just throw them away because they're probably too dried out. And you're just going to color in the ring around the outside of your cartouche and your hieroglyphic name. If you want to color in the background, you can, but I want to leave some of my silver showing. Since I chose silver as my color, I don't want to color over all the silver parts because I still want to see some of them. So I'm not going to color my whole entire cartouche. I'm just going to color some of the details. And if you do the gold side, some of these colors are not going to show up very well on the gold because the gold is kind of a dark color. The silver color is a lighter color, so you can see the marker a little bit easier. Okay, now you're going to cut your cartouche out. the shape of the cartouche. So you're going to cut that out, and I want you to be extra careful. You're going to use the small scissors, and you're going to cut right next to the edge. And you can cut this background off into pieces, but be careful not to run your fingers across the edge. Take your time, and I'm just cutting off pieces as I go just to make it easier. I'm not trying to leave this background all in one piece because that would be more difficult to do. Alright, and when you cut metal, it'll help sharpen our scissors, which will help us out a little bit. Now this little scrap pieces of metal you'll put in the recycle bin so they can be recycled. Then what you will do is you'll bring me your cartouche, and I will hole punch the top right in the middle. I'll punch a hole for you, and then you are going to get a piece of yarn for your necklace, and I might have different colors or I might just have one color, and you're going to take it and you're going to find the end of the loop. It's going to be knotted on one side. You're going to find the end of the loop. You're going to put the loop through the hole, open the loop up, reach through the loop with your fingers, reach through. So I'm reaching through the loop, and you're going to grab the end of the necklace and pull it through the loop. So you can see the loop there. I've pulled this up through the loop, and then you just gently pull until it's tight. Don't pull too tight because you might stretch that hole. And there you have your Egyptian hieroglyphic named cartouche necklace. Good job, first grade.